Alright battlers, Defense Form Deoxys is the best safe swap in the entire Go Battle League. I show you exactly how to use this team, and then in the second half of the video, I show you how to beat it. My team is on the left side of the screen there. I have Stunfisk in the lead with Altaria and Defense Form Deoxys. In this round, we lose that lead super hard, so we have to get out of there immediately. I go into my safe swap Defense Form Deoxys, and my opponent counters with his own Deoxys. Now, this is the strategy behind this team. You absolutely have to win this switched in matchup with your Defense Form Deoxys no matter what. Because those two Pokemon in the lead actually have nearly perfect coverage with the exception of Azumarill, these two Pokemon can handle most of the meta. I'll get into that in just a second. As you see, my opponent did shield up that Thunderbolt. I'm finally going to give a shield to my Defense Form Deoxys here, and I really want to remove my opponent's Deoxys, so I'm going to push straight for another Thunderbolt. I am going to double shield my Defense Form Deoxys because I am so confident in the team composition that I have here. We know that my opponent has the Shadow Victory Bell, which my Altaria is going to wall. We actually barely win that matchup. Out comes Bastiodon, and this is perfect. This is GG's already because we come in with Stunfisk and then comes an Altaria versus that Shadow Victory Bell. Shadow Victory Bell is a great Pokemon. As you can tell, I really had to avoid it with Stunfisk, but Altaria is going to eat it like it's nothing. Gonna go ahead and fire off a Dragon Pulse here against Bastiodon. Now, the only concern here is that Bastiodon is gonna farm up a lot of extra energy on Altaria, so he's gonna put pressure on Stunfisk, especially if he uses Flamethrower, which is definitely the right move that you want to use in the Stunfisk versus Bastiodon matchup. Now, a little bit of team theory here. My Stunfisk is my anti-tank. It beats things like Bastiodon, Registeel, Probopass, a bunch of stuff like that. It also does well against things like Toxicroak with its poison typing, and it does beat Skarmory as well. So I really love it as my anti-tank. Altaria is my anti-fighter and my anti-grass. It does really well, obviously, against things like Meganium, Medicham, if you can dodge the ice punches, etc. Both of those Pokemon together form really great coverage. We're going to go to the second match here, Stunfisk into Sableye. My opponent safe swaps into their Tropius with a Razor Leaf. This match, I'm actually going to break my code, my Defense Form Deoxys swap, just because I feel like this Altaria has really wonderful play against this Tropius, and my Defense Deoxys has really good play against Azumarill. So in case my opponent is packing Azumarill in the back, I'm going to save my Deoxys for that. My opponent gets to one more charge attack here, not a big deal. Altaria can barely even register those Leaf Blades. They hurt so little. Out comes my opponent's Pokemon, and I will go straight for the Sky attack here. Sableye does shield, which is good. Gonna swap back into Stunfisk, and then I think we see CMP tied there. Gonna try to go for the discharge. We eat the foul play, not a big deal at all. I also like this team because Deoxys is like a soft anti-tank. As you can tell, we do have two shields. My opponent is out of shields, so things are going really well for us. Gonna land one discharge, and my opponent's gonna get to another charge move, not a big deal. Gonna have to bring in Altaria here because that Sableye is going to just erase my Defense Form Deoxys. So even if I have to invest a shield, I'm not really that bummed out, which we do. Gonna go ahead and Dragon Breath down Sableye. Out comes Azumarill. Gonna weaken it with a Sky attack, just like we predicted. Definitely gonna save my Defense Form Deoxys to deal with this Azumarill in the back. Go Battle League is totally blind. You're definitely familiar with that. You've seen all kinds of wacky stuff, but sometimes we get really lucky and our intuition registers these things. And in the Go Battle League, you really need to follow your gut because a lot of the time it's right. Gonna go ahead and shield up here against this Azumarill. I don't think I'm able to counter down here. Azumarill is still just surprisingly bulky. I probably could have. I think he was only up to 2 bubbles, but I just wanted it off the battlefield, and then Deoxys will counter down Sableye. Going to this game, Stunfisk into Venusaur, we lose the lead again. Everybody that tells you that losing the lead in Go Battle League means that you lose the game, they need to watch this because there are ways to come back, and it really revolves around your safe swap. As FP Sticks noted, the second matchup is actually the most important matchup of the game. You can lose the lead, and that's okay. As long as you win this switched in matchup, you can do really well. So if you're going to try to use Defense Form Deoxys on your team, I definitely recommend heading over to PvPoke and looking at these simulations to figure out how Deoxys can win these certain matchups, because you really need to know these switched in matchups. We're actually able to counter down Registeel. That's exactly exactly what I wanted. I don't even care if Deoxys gets farmed here because my hard counters are going to line up really well. Going to go ahead and drop a Rock Slide here on Marowak. As you can tell, they're super effective. Don't even care if I get Fire Spin down, not a big deal. Expecting Venusaur, I open my switch tray. I know Shadow Ball, Bone Club, either one, we could eat them. Expecting the swap, my switch tray is still open, and here it comes. Now we've lined up our Flyer with their Grass type, and my Mud Boy has some energy together for that Marowak. Battlers, I know I just said something really controversial. A lot of people are wondering if Stunfisk is a Mud Boy or not. I wanted to challenge you guys to hop on Twitter and let TOSHI from the Elite Four know if you think that Stunfisk is a Mud Boy or not, because he has been fueling this debate. It is a raging debate in the community, and I think it's really, really funny. A lot of people think because it lives in mud, it's a Mud Boy. A lot of people think because it's electric ground, it's not technically a Mud Boy, but the argument is just really, really hilarious. And let TOSHI know what you think. I'll leave a link to his Twitter handle down in the description below. Going to this match, we're finally going to win a lead. We have our Stunfisk into Bastiodon. Going to open my switch tray expecting the swap. In comes Defense Form Deoxys. Now, in this matchup, my opponent went for their safe swap, but I am going to try to gain the advantage here. We actually got a shield, which is really good, and then here we're even going to do some more chip damage to my opponent, which is actually even better, because when I swap in my Defense Deoxys, I want a health or a shield or an energy advantage, and we got 2 out of the 3, which is really good. My opponent is in a terrible spot here. My opponent does go for the Rock Slide there, but I'm going to work up here to the Thunderbolt and just try to erase this Deoxys as quickly as possible. Now, I do admit swapping my Deoxys here is leaving me a little bit open to an Azumarill. I do have Stunfisk there with the Discharge, and it does do well against Water-type Azumarill, but not as well as you would like. This is actually a very interesting showcase as well, because my opponent comes in with Altaria and shields it, which means I have 2 shields. I'm going to bring in my own Altaria, and here I'm thinking about doing a Dragon Pulse to try to one-shot this, but as you can see, after my Dragon Breath damage, I only need the Sky Attack to wrap this up. Gonna go ahead straight away for the Sky Attack here. I will say, battlers, these first 5 battles are all wins. We went 5-0 with this team, but the second half of this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how to counter this strategy and beat trainers that do stuff like this. We actually are able to Mudshot down, and my opponent leaves that match. Here comes another lost lead, another Grass type. How are we gonna come back from this? We're gonna go into our Defense Deoxys. Here comes Azumarill, and we're gonna try to win this switched in matchup. At that point, we can bring in Altaria to face off against Meganium, and because our Stunfisk has such great coverage against anti-tanks, which people tend to bring, we are going to be in good shape as long as our opponent sticks to the narrowly defined meta that you're going to see a lot in the Go Battle League. So battlers, if you've enjoyed this so far, leave me a like, comment down below what you thought, and if you want to see that second half, I'll leave a little timestamp down there. You can skip right ahead to it. I really do. I think I'd lose 2 or 3 matches in the next set, and my opponents just counter me really well. And there are ways around this, so I just wanted you to not think this was like a be-all, end-all strategy, but it's a really good one that we use to go 5-0 in these rank 8 battles. I do come in with Altaria. My opponent comes in with Registeel. This is really bad. They've got 2 shields, they've got a Registeel, and I've got Stunfisk. Let's see if we can bring this back. My opponent does shield up that first Mud Bomb. Flash Cannon is the wrong move here, and they go for the Focus Blast, which is the right move. I have to find some way to burn this other shield, damage this Registeel, and hopefully do some damage to where my Altaria can come in and win this game. Gonna go ahead and drop another Mud Bomb here. My opponent does get to the Focus Blast, but as you can tell, that Registeel is already into the yellow. Gonna go ahead and bring in Altaria here, and I want to deny this Flash Cannon, so I'm gonna go straight for my Sky Attack. It's not quite enough, and we're barely able to Dragon Breath down. Out comes Meganium, and you already know this is GG's, battlers. All we need to do is drop that Sky Attack, and we are gonna complete the 5-0 sweep. Now, if you've watched this far, you made it to the second half, I'm going to use the same team, but we're actually going to lose some of these matchups. Some of these are a little more interesting. So Stunfisk versus Wigglytuff, I believe Wiggles is going to win this just by virtue of its charm damage, but my opponent does shield that first one, so we're going to go ahead and throw another Discharge in rapid succession. Going to take a big chunk and then switch into our Defense Form Deoxys. Going to try to fire some counters here. We CMP tie. Expecting a play rough, I do shield, and it will be the play really rough, but luckily we locked in our opponent and we're going to force them to either shield or eat this rock slide, and they decide to shield. My opponent gave up both shields, and there they come with the Stunfisk of their own. Stunfisk really good as a safe swap as well, so if you wanted to switch this team around, maybe try to lead with Deoxys and go into Stunfisk, it could still work. You just have to alter your strategies a little bit more. Gonna go ahead and swap here into Altaria to catch this Mud Bomb, or actually it was a discharge, so unfortunately, but either way, we preserved our Deoxys, saved some life on that. My opponent is going to go for another discharge, working up to this Dragon Pulse, and my opponent is staying in here, so I'm going to try to farm down. As you can tell, these discharges aren't doing much damage. My opponent comes in with their own Altaria, and I choke, and I go for the Sky Attack. Definitely should have gone for Dragon Pulse, but we go for a double Sky Attack. Let's see if it pays dividends. Gonna get farmed down there. I still have a shield. Gonna bring in my own Stunfisk. This is a really fun game. Gonna charge up some extra energy here, and then shield. Dragon Pulse is shielded. That would have definitely KO'd. Gonna drop one more discharge here, and this is a really tight game. My opponent comes back in with Wiggles, and I'm trying to switch into Deoxys. Here we go. My opponent sack swaps their own Stunfisk, and they're going to eat this Mud Bomb. Really clever play. Going to swap into Deoxys, and we catch Wiggles with a Rock Slide. One more move, and we would have been KO'd. GG's Battler, one of the funnest games I've played in a long time. Going to this match, we see our Stunfisk into a Azumarill. This is a tricky lead because Discharge, while super effective, does not do the kind of damage you wish it would. It does well, but you need at least 3 of them to KO a Azumarill. I think if you have an attack-weighted Stunfisk, you can actually win that. I do catch the Ice Beam with Deoxys, which is really good. And then at this point, I've got to decide if I want to bluff with a Rock Slide or go for the Thunderbolt. I actually need to get better on my Thunderbolt and Rock Slide habits. I tend to go for Thunderbolt most of the time. Your opponent typically doesn't shield the first attack, so it's safe to go for Thunderbolt the first time, but then after that, it's a good idea to bluff. I actually go for another Thunderbolt here, either going to take the shield or take the Azu, and we get the shield. Not wanting to invest another shield in Deoxys, I'm going to let that Ice Beam land. My opponent undercharges and gets 3 bubbles of energy together, which means they are already at an Ice Beam. Really quick stuff. Going to go ahead and allow that through, and then try to discharge my opponent. This is really just a gamble at this point. I don't know what they have in the back, but it's not looking good. Out comes Meganium, and there comes Registeel. So they were able to win that switched in matchup, and then their grass type and their steel type was able to alternate, and now their counters are lined up where they need to be. Controlling that switched in matchup is super important, and it doesn't really matter if Deoxys is your safe swap or something else is. There are tons of great Pokemon. Azu can make a great safe swap as well. As long as you have some kind of varied coverage, you can make anything into a really good safe swap. I just sincerely feel that Defense Form Deoxys is the best safe swap in the game right now. Gonna go ahead and swap in here to Stunfisk to try to keep Altaria alive. We're actually able to eat that Focus Blast. Out comes Meganium. Gonna go straight for the Sky Attack, but I don't think this is quite enough. This is a really close game. We're definitely gonna eat a Frenzy Plant here, but I need to Dragon Breath down Meganium. Trying to keep track of these Vine Whips as well, and we are able to farm down. Out comes Registeel, and we Dragon Breath for the win. Very tight game. Going to this game, Stunfisk into Toxicroak. Like I mentioned early on, these Mud Bombs are going to be super effective. My opponent swaps beautifully at the right moment to catch the Mud Bomb with the Hypno. Hypno's a little bit tricky because I don't have a hard counter to it, and so many of these damn Hypnos are carrying Ice Punch these days, and it's so tough to overcome. I normally try to swap in and catch an Elemental Punch, but at this point, we catch a Shadow Ball. Really bad news for us. Gonna go ahead and throw a Rock Slide here against a Hypno, and as you can tell, it's already fired off several confusions, so it's got a lot of energy. It could be Shadow Ball or it could be an Elemental Punch at this point. Gonna go ahead and shield, trying to win the switched in matchup, and we protect against the Shadow Ball, which is really good. Gonna go ahead and drop that Rock Slide. My opponent comes in with their Toxicroak again, and they are not going to farm down Deoxys, which is actually really good for us. I have a couple of options here, Altaria and Stunfisk. I actually decide to come in here with Altaria. I know Sludge Bomb is going to take about half. We try to swap and catch the Sludge Bomb, but out comes a Azumarill, and as you can tell, this is really bad for us. We maybe misplayed a couple times here, but this team really does have a little bit of a weakness to a Azumarill. You can kind of beat it by committee if you use your shields correctly, but I go ahead and shield Stunfisk there, wanting to get another discharge. I'm trying to take my opponent's shield and outpace them to one more discharge, and then hopefully this sky attack can wreck this Azumarill. Let's see if we can pull it off. My opponent farms down Stunfisk, which is actually the perfect move. It gives them enough energy for the Ice Beam here, which they fire, and then a quick swap into their Toxicroak. Beautifully played by this trainer, and the Sludge Bomb is going to KO us. GG's. Going to this game, our Stunfisk into Tropius. We do not want to see this. This is really bad. Going to swap into Deoxys. And this is another thing that can happen. Your safe swap can get hard countered. And when that happens, it's really tough to come back from. That's like a whole nother level of strategy. But we're just going to go ahead and eat the Shadow Punch. My opponent's actually able to farm down on my Deoxys, which is really bad. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Stunfisk here because we are so weak to that Tropius. I don't know what my opponent's third Pokemon is, but I just want to get this Haunter out of the way. Going to go ahead and fire off a Mud Bomb here, which would, I think, one-shot Haunter, but my opponent decides to shield. Out comes that Tropius, and they force swap themselves into their Flyer. So we have a chance here. We're going to try to see what happens because this Tropius is locked. It can't do much damage to us, so we're going to try to weaken it and try to get double Sky Attacks loaded so that we can Sky Attack Haunter when it comes back in. We KO it. Here comes the Haunter. We CMP tie. I really want to save Altaria here, so I go ahead and shield, and then I fire off the Sky Attack. I need this Haunter off the battlefield. Haunter is the most annoying Pokemon in the Go Battle League because it's so good. In comes Defense Form Deoxys. I try to sack swap my Stunfisk, and it works. Gonna catch this Rock Slide, and we still have a chance here. Gonna push for the Discharge, which we are able to get to. I think one more Sky Attack is going to be enough. We have to shield up a Rock Slide for sure. We actually, I think, CMP tie, maybe a little bit of lag there, but either way, we fire off that Sky Attack, and my opponent does reach their Rock Slide, but we're going to burn our final shield and secure this win. Last battle of the video, battlers. If you like this content, please just hit that thumbs up. It means a lot to me. Comment down below what you think of this team and this strategy, and then subscribe for tons more Go Battle League content. As you can tell here in the Stunfisk mirror situation, he is running Thundershock. I'm running Mudshot. One of my commenters pointed out to me very graciously that the Mudshot helps a lot with the mirror. And as you can tell, we are already chipping away at that Stunfisk. And then as soon as these Mud Bombs start to land, it's going to be great. We are also winning CMP. So we're going to win that matchup. My opponent knew it. They swap out here to catch the Mud Bomb with their Skarmory, but that's not even that great of a move because we have our Discharge ready to go. Going to go ahead and fire this off against Skarmory and time the swap to try to catch a Sky Attack, but we go right into Altaria. At this point, we're able to farm down and we're in a really good position. If there's one lesson I want you to take away from this battle, it's just in that first matchup, it's really important to note who is winning CMP. If you can figure out who is winning that, it doesn't matter how many times you match shields. If your opponent gets to their Mud Bomb and is able to fire it off before you, you're probably going to lose that matchup. So definitely be mindful of that. Going to chip away at this Registeel as much as possible, but my opponent does overfarm. Altaria goes down. Going to go ahead and bring in my Stunfisk here with a finger on the trigger, ready to safe swap, but we're going to go for the Mud Bomb here. Almost bringing down Registeel, and we finally do, and my opponent's going to leave the match. Battlers, thank you so much. I hope to see you in the next video. GG's.